This is the Ardeche River, and this is a rapid called Two Pine. Here the problem is the main jet of water coming down begins to concentrate and push itself onto the cliff, and it can be quite difficult to make that bend, and there's lots of undercuts there. So here we go, this is Lena, and she's running down right of centre. Noddy stood in the eddy and a bit in the way of where she wanted to go, but there she goes, out change of angle, push the boat into the eddy, and now the eddy pulls the turn for her. She's well away from the cliff, stopping there for a while, but can then turn and go on downstream. Joy heading down, not as much angle across the current, so she's having to do a lot more work with her paddle to pull the boat into the eddy, and again the eddy pulls her well clear of the cliff. By having both of them on the split screen, we can actually contrast the angles. And as we go down, a very similar position on the rapid. But at this point, Lena begins to change the angle much more across so she can drive the boat into the eddy. That way, the boat does most of the work and the paddle is there to assist the turn, whereas Joy's having to do more work with her paddle. But at the end of the day, both of them get in the eddy, both of them have a good edge or lean into the turn. It works both ways. Sharon and Rod are the next ones down. But the first thing to note on this is both of them have severe knee problems, and so are sitting in the boat rather than kneeling. Now that really affects stability, and it affects how much edge, how much lean to one side or the other you can do with the boat. They're both keen as mustard, but most of their paddling is on very easy water or flat water, and they just don't have the experience of paddling on white water. Everything at this point is still working. Because they've tried for the eddy, they're pointing away from the cliff and are not going to be in any danger whatsoever. Perhaps it would have been better to go straight on, but at this point they should be leaning to the inside of the turn, to their right. But the combination of hitting the eddy and Rod trying to push the boat round is leaning the boat out of the turn. And that, when you're in fast moving water, is not a good idea. Rod and Sharon are in no danger whatsoever. The current now is bouncing off the cliff, so they're not going to be pulled into the undercut. And you can see the current is actually pulling them into the eddy, and downstream is flat water. Noddy is sorting the canoe and kit out, but with the kit attached to the boat, which is normal, then it's actually difficult to get the last of the water out. So in the end, he takes the boat around to the beach, and it can all be sorted there. A final little lesson. Sharon had got a brand new dry duffel, but she hadn't dry bagged the stuff inside the duffel.
Dry bag has not done its job.
Double bag everything. Anything vital, double bag. Maya and myself take a wider line here, and this is so I can get some speed up on the diagonal run. There is an issue though, the river's quite shallow, so I wasn't getting as good a strokes as I would like, so not as high up the eddy. But here we go. Very positive drive into the eddy. Because of that, a lot of edge on the boat, a lot of lean, a tiny bit of water, and Maya finishes it off by a crossbow draw, crossbow rudder to pull the nose round. We're going to go down, see where Nobby is. We're going to go into the eddy where Nobby is. If you just follow the main watercourse here, it bends round to the right and then back towards the left, and the main force is directly onto that rock. So it's a left or right. In many ways the easiest is left. We could cut into the eddy, we could pull an eddy turn and then just paddle down the eddy, or just hold a diagonal into the eddy and pass the rock on its left. However, we want a bit more fun than that, we're going right. quite awkward because the fast water that we need to be in is quite narrow. But once we're across it, into the eddy we go. Maya again will cross by rudder, across Dufek. She pulls the nose round, that anchors us, and we swing into the eddy, and we're clear of the main current and the rock that it's piling onto. As a note, Rod and Sharon drove into the shallows, walked the boat down so they avoided the problem totally, but they did paddle all the other rapids afterwards. Our final look, and this is via slides rather than video, but it's a classic example, and this is Blacktooth on the Ardeche. A large rock is undercut, but upstream of it is a much smaller rock, but downstream of the small rock it creates a micro eddy. And it's this that can cause a real problem for the unwary. These two are novices and nothing to do with our party. They've hired a sit on top the same morning and are heading downstream. And what they've done, inadvertently, is taken the sit on top into the eddy, and that's going to pull a turn. Here it goes, it's pulling a turn round to their left, and they're now directly above Blacktooth. They could accelerate, but they're now frightened. And the inevitable happens and they broadside the rock. Fortunately, they're just off to one side, and so the boat is going to actually be pushed round by the water. The capsize and the resulting swim. Boat and kit easy enough to rescue because it's slow water beyond. In summer, the French authorities actually put some pompiers, a rescue team there, to sort out any injuries. So here's two of our group coming down, experienced paddlers, and they've got an angle away towards the inside of the bend, and that means the eddy line is actually going to shove them further towards that bank, that shallow beachy bank, and away from above Blacktooth. Easy line. The rest of our team were novices. This was only their third morning of paddling, and so rather than take the risk of them making an error above Blacktooth, and at different water levels it can be quite easy, but we got them to line down, so a technique so often used in Canada or on more difficult rivers, but very appropriate to our inexperienced paddlers, and so they could with ease and safety and confidence take their boats past Blacktooth, jump back in and paddle on to enjoy the rest of the river. Hi folks, I hope you found that interesting and helpful. And what you can do is you can press like, you can subscribe, and comments are always welcome. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a link in the description below for buymeacoffee.com. My own book Canoeing is available directly from myself, but there are links in the description below for easy buys in North America or the rest of Europe. Thank you for watching, and thank